Hello and welcome to another episode of the English Talk Community Podcast. I'm Julia, and I'm really glad you're here with me today. Whether you're listening from a busy city, a quiet countryside, or somewhere in between, thank you for joining. I know you have a lot going on, so I truly appreciate you making the time to tune in. This is your moment to slow down, take a breath, and focus on something that matters, your English journey. Now let me ask you something. What's the one thing you did in English today? Think about it for a second. Was it listening to a song? Reading a short post online? Saying one word to yourself in English? Maybe you haven't done anything yet, and that's totally fine too. You're here now, and this counts. This podcast episode can be your English moment for the day. You see, it doesn't always have to be something big or dramatic. Practicing English every day can be simple, easy, and actually fun. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Today's episode is all about one powerful idea: how to practice English every single day. Even if you feel like you don't have the time, even if you think your level is too low, or even if you've tried before and couldn't keep the habit. We're going to explore real stories, practical tips, and small changes you can make that will keep you moving forward. If you've ever felt stuck or unmotivated, I get it. You're definitely not alone. I talk to learners from all around the world, and I hear the same thing again and again. People want to speak better English, but they don't know how to fit practice into their busy lives. And that's where we begin. Let me tell you, I've seen something interesting over the years. The people who make the biggest progress with English are not always the ones who study for hours and hours every weekend. They are not always the ones with expensive courses or perfect study plans. They're the ones who do a little every day. Just a little. They listen, repeat, think, speak, even if it's for 5 or 10 minutes. The ones who keep showing up, who make English a part of their normal life, are the ones who end up speaking with more confidence, more fluency, and more comfort. So what if you made English part of your everyday life? Not something extra or something stressful, but something natural. That's what we're going to build together in this episode. I'm not here to tell you to change your whole routine or become someone you're not. I'm here to show you how small actions can lead to big results, and how you don't have to be perfect to be effective. Maybe you're listening right now while walking to work, doing the dishes, or just relaxing at home. That's perfect. That's actually one of the best ways to include English in your day, by using those small, quiet pockets of time. Because every little bit counts. Every word you hear, every sentence you say, every moment you spend thinking in English is helping you move forward. You see, one of the biggest myths about learning a language is that you need big blocks of time to study. And sure, if you have an hour or two, that's great. But most of us don't have that luxury. We have jobs, families, responsibilities. Life gets busy. But even with all that, there is always a way to include English. It just has to fit you. That's why this episode is not about giving you a strict plan. It's about helping you see opportunities. Throughout this episode, we're going to talk about how different people in different situations found creative ways to practice English every day. Some of these people had very limited time. Some didn't have access to native speakers. Some didn't even have internet at home. But they made it work, and so can you. I'm also going to share tips that you can use immediately, starting today. These are not complicated. In fact, the simpler the better. Simple English is powerful English, and simple actions lead to strong habits. If you can create even a tiny habit, like listening to English during your coffee break or saying one sentence to yourself in the mirror each morning, you're already doing more than most learners out there. And here's something else to think about. When you practice English every day, you're doing more than just learning a language. You're building consistency, you're creating momentum, you're showing yourself that you can commit to something and follow through. That's a powerful feeling. It's not just about English, it's about proving to yourself that you can do hard things. So let me bring you back to that first question. What's the one thing you did in English today? If your answer is listening to this podcast, then congratulations. You've already started. You've already said yes to your practice. And you're already doing what so many others are still waiting to do. That's a win. A small one maybe, but a win is a win. As we go on, I want you to stay open. Open to new ideas. Open to the possibility that this time your English practice can be different. It doesn't have to be stressful. It doesn't have to be frustrating. It can be light. It can be simple. It can be part of who you are. You don't have to change your whole life. You just need to change one moment at a time. You just need to say, Today I will do something in English, and tomorrow you'll say it again. One moment becomes a habit. A habit becomes a routine, and a routine becomes fluency. So stay with me, keep listening. We're just getting started. Let me ask you something. Have you ever tried going to the gym once a month and expecting to see real results? It sounds silly, right? You go one time, work really hard, maybe even feel sore the next day, but then you don't go back for weeks. What happens? Nothing changes. Your body doesn't get stronger, and you start feeling like all that effort didn't really matter. The same thing happens with learning a language. If you study once in a while, even if you try really hard in that one moment, the results just don't stick. Your brain, just like your muscles, needs repetition. It needs consistency. That's why practicing English every day, even just for a few minutes, can make a huge difference. Today, I want to help you understand why daily practice works so well and why small, regular actions are much more powerful than big, rare ones. You don't need long study sessions every single day. You need small, meaningful moments that tell your brain, this is important. Pay attention. That's how your brain starts to adapt. That's how English begins to feel natural. There's something really interesting about how our brains work. We're wired for patterns. When you repeat something often, even in small amounts, your brain starts to recognize it as part of your routine. It creates stronger connections each time. That's called neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to rewire itself. And the best way to activate that process is not with intensity, but with frequency. That means doing a little bit every day is more valuable than doing a lot once a week. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't wait for the weekend and say, okay, I'll brush for 30 minutes now to make up for the week. That would be strange. Instead, you brush a little each day, and that's what keeps your teeth healthy. The same logic applies to English. 10 minutes daily is much more powerful than an hour once a week. Your brain doesn't need to be flooded with information, it just needs to be reminded regularly. Let me tell you something else that's important. When you show up for English every day, even with small steps, you create momentum. And momentum is magic. It helps you stay connected to the language, even when you're tired or busy. It keeps the sounds, the rhythm, and the patterns of English fresh in your mind. And it makes you more confident because you start to see English as part of your life, not as a separate, difficult thing you only deal with once in a while. Many learners think they need motivation to practice. But actually, what they need is a habit. Habits don't require motivation every time. You don't need to feel excited to brush your teeth, right? You just do it. That's the power of daily English practice. It becomes something you just do, even if you're tired, even if you're not in the mood. You still do a little bit, and that little bit keeps the engine running. Let me share a little science here. Studies show that frequent, short learning sessions create stronger long-term memory than long, infrequent ones. It's called the spacing effect. When you learn a little today, then again tomorrow, and then again the next day, your brain gets multiple chances to store and recall the information. Each repetition makes it easier to remember and harder to forget. But if you wait too long between sessions, your brain treats it like something unimportant, and it lets go. Here's another metaphor for you. Imagine you're planting a garden. If you water your plants a little every day, they grow strong. But if you wait a week and pour a bucket of water all at once, it either floods the soil or doesn't reach the roots in time. Language learning is like that. It needs daily drops of exposure, just enough to keep growing. And eventually, you see something beautiful take shape. Not overnight, but over time. Now I want you to remember this. It's not about being perfect every day. It's about showing up. Even if you only listen to English for 5 minutes, that counts. Even if you just say one sentence out loud, that counts. You are teaching your brain that English matters to you. And that message is what makes the difference. You might be thinking, but my life is too busy. I can't find time every single day. I understand that. We all have responsibilities, stress, and distractions. But daily practice doesn't have to be another task on your to-do list. It can fit into your life naturally. It can be flexible. You can listen to a short podcast episode while you cook, repeat a few phrases while you brush your hair, or think in English while walking to the bus stop. These moments are small, but they add up. They build your fluency brick by brick. And here's the beautiful part. When you practice every day, you stop feeling like a student. You start feeling like a speaker. You're not just learning English, you're living it. You're interacting with it in real time. And that shift in identity is what leads to real transformation. I've seen this happen so many times. Learners who thought they were bad at English started making daily practice a habit. In the beginning, it felt strange. But after a few weeks, something changed. They started to feel more comfortable. They started understanding more. They stopped translating every word in their heads. And little by little, their confidence grew. Not because they were studying harder, but because they were practicing smarter. So here's what I want you to take from this. Consistency is more powerful than intensity. Daily exposure is more effective than occasional effort. And small steps, repeated over time, lead to big change. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep showing up. Because every time you do, you are one step closer to becoming the English speaker you want to be. Let me tell you about Raul. He's from Mexico City, a place full of life, color, and sound. When Raul first decided to learn English, he was excited. He felt motivated, especially because he dreamed of traveling and maybe even working in the United States one day. Like many learners, he started with the most obvious option, YouTube. He opened his laptop, typed "Learn English," and hit play. That was the beginning of what he later called the confusing phase. Raul watched everything he could find. Grammar videos, vocabulary lists, pronunciation tips, long explanations about tenses. Some videos were 2 minutes long, others were over an hour. One day he was learning about idioms, the next day about irregular verbs, and the day after that, phrasal verbs. He jumped from one topic to another without a clear plan. After a few weeks, Raul was spending almost 2 hours a day watching English content. But here's the problem. He felt completely lost. He wasn't sure if he was improving. He couldn't remember what he had watched the day before. He tried to speak, but the words didn't come. He had so much information in his head, but no structure, no confidence, no connection between what he was learning and how to actually use it in a conversation. And worst of all, he started to feel frustrated. He thought, maybe I'm not good at languages. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. One day, Raul was walking through a local park and saw a group of teenagers practicing skateboard tricks. He watched them fall and get up again, trying the same move over and over. Some of them weren't even close to landing the trick, but they kept going, one step at a time. And that's when something clicked for him. He realized they weren't trying random tricks every day. They were repeating one move again and again, getting just a little better each time. Raul thought, what if I did that with English? He decided to stop watching random videos for hours. Instead, he gave himself a simple rule. 15 minutes a day, one topic at a time. Just 15 minutes. That was the new plan. And instead of jumping around, he would choose one short video and focus on understanding it deeply. He would write down 3 key sentences from the video, repeat them out loud, and use them during the day. That was it. The first topic he chose was how to introduce himself. He found a short video with examples like, "Hi, my name is Raul. I'm from Mexico City. I like movies and music." Simple phrases, nothing too advanced. But instead of watching 10 videos in one sitting, Raul spent the whole week with just this one. Every day he repeated the sentences, he recorded himself, he practiced in front of the mirror. He started saying the sentences while brushing his teeth or waiting for the bus. By the end of the week, something surprising happened. Raul felt good. Not because he learned 50 new words or mastered a complex grammar rule, but because for the first time he felt in control. He remembered what he had learned. He could say the sentences naturally. He was building real confidence, not just collecting information. Over the next few months, Raul kept this routine. One topic per week, 15 minutes a day. He added small variations. After learning how to introduce himself, he practiced asking basic questions like, "Where are you from?" and "What do you do?" Then he moved to describing his day, talking about his favorite foods, and expressing opinions about movies. The topics were simple, but the repetition made them stick. Sometimes he felt bored, especially in the beginning. He wanted to move on quickly, learn more, and try advanced things. But he reminded himself of the skateboarders, how they repeated the same trick over and over until they got it right. And every time he saw progress, even a small one, he felt motivated to keep going. After a while, Raul started joining online language exchanges. The first time he spoke with someone in English, he was nervous. But when the other person asked, "What's your name?" The answer came without hesitation. My name is Raul. I'm from Mexico City. That one moment made all the small, daily habits worth it. He wasn't searching for the words. He wasn't translating in his head. He was speaking. Raul's story shows us something powerful. More isn't always better. In the beginning, doing too much made him feel overwhelmed. But when he switched to doing a little, every day, with focus and purpose, everything changed. He gave his brain time to absorb, repeat, and feel confident. What worked for Raul wasn't a secret method or a special app. It was the decision to slow down, focus on one thing at a time, and trust the process. Just like those skateboarders, he learned that practice isn't about doing everything. It's about doing something simple, every day, with intention. When you're learning English, it's easy to believe that you have to speak perfectly right from the beginning. You might feel pressure to use long sentences, complicated grammar, or advanced vocabulary. Maybe you think people will judge you if you make mistakes. Or maybe you've heard fluent speakers and felt like you're too far behind. But here's the truth I want to share with you today. Clarity is more important than perfection. Always. Let's slow things down and think about what communication really is. It's not about showing off how many words you know or if you use the past perfect correctly. It's about making sure the other person understands you. That's it. That's the goal. If someone understands what you're saying, even if your sentence isn't perfect, you've succeeded. You've used English the way it's meant to be used. Now think about this. When a child learns to speak, do they worry about grammar? Do they pause before every sentence to think about verb conjugations? Of course not. They use what they know. They try. They make mistakes. And guess what? People understand them. More importantly, children learn fast. Why? Because they're not afraid to speak. They're not trying to be perfect. They just speak. That's why I always say, talk like a child first. Not because children are simple or less intelligent, but because they are fearless speakers. They use the tools they have, they repeat, they use short sentences, and they focus on connection, not perfection. This is one of the most powerful ways to learn a language, especially at the beginning. So, how do you do that as an adult learner? You start with simple, clear phrases. For example, instead of saying, I would be delighted to accompany you, to the restaurant, just say, I want to go to the restaurant with you. Or instead of, I am currently experiencing some difficulty understanding this concept, you can simply say, I don't understand this. Can you feel the difference? One sentence is long and formal, the other is short and clear, but both express the same idea. One creates stress because you're trying to remember big words and the perfect structure. The other helps you speak with confidence because you know what you're saying. When you focus on clarity, you actually make faster progress. You train your brain to think in English. You start to use the language, not just study it. And every time you use it, even in a basic way, you are building fluency. That's the goal, to speak naturally and feel comfortable. Not to sound like a textbook. Let me tell you something I've heard from many learners. They say, I know the words, but I'm afraid to speak. Why? Because they're trying to make perfect sentences. They stop themselves before they even begin. They get stuck thinking about grammar or pronunciation. And in that moment, the chance to communicate is lost. That's what happens when perfection becomes the goal. It blocks progress. Now imagine this instead. You're in a conversation and someone asks, do you like music? You don't have to answer with a long, beautiful sentence. You can just say, yes, I like music. I listen every day. It's short. It's simple. It works. The person understands you. You feel good. And the conversation continues. That's success. If you're waiting until you can speak perfectly before you start speaking, you'll wait forever. Perfection is not the starting point. It's the result of practice over time. But clarity? That's something you can achieve today, right now. Even with just a few basic words, you can start connecting with people. And that's what language is for. Let's make it practical. Start your day with 5 simple sentences. Say them out loud. For example, I am tired today. I need coffee. I will work at 9. It's sunny outside. I want to watch a movie tonight. These are not complex sentences, but they are powerful. They help you speak. They train your mouth. They give you confidence. And with time, you'll naturally add more details. You'll say, I'm very tired today because I didn't sleep well. But you don't need to start there. First, build the habit of speaking with what you know. Another good idea is to repeat key phrases daily. Short phrases like, how are you? I'm fine, thanks. What time is it? Where's the bus stop? Can I help you? I don't know. Please speak slowly. These are the real tools of conversation. You don't need hundreds of words. You need the right ones. You can even practice with questions and answers. Ask yourself, where do I live? Then answer, I live in Tokyo. Ask, what do I do? Answer, I am a student. It may feel basic, but this is how you build a foundation, and a strong foundation gives you confidence to go further. I've seen many students improve quickly just by changing this one idea. They stop chasing perfection. They stop worrying about sounding smart. They focus on being clear, and everything becomes easier. They speak more. They enjoy the process. And over time, they naturally start using more vocabulary and more grammar because now they're not afraid. So the next time you start a conversation in English, remind yourself, I don't need to be perfect. I just need to be clear. Choose short sentences. Use the words you already know. Speak slowly if you need to. And let go of the pressure to sound like a native speaker. Your job is not to be perfect. Your job is to be understood. And remember, every mistake is a part of learning. It means you're trying. It means you're practicing. And that's what helps you grow. So be proud of your mistakes. Speak like a child. Use your words. Be simple. Be clear. That's how real fluency begins. Let's talk about something that can change the way you learn English forever. You don't need to study for hours to make progress. You don't need to wait for a perfect time. You don't even need a quiet place or a full hour without interruptions. What you need is just 10 minutes. That's it. 10 focused minutes a day can completely transform your English, and today, I'm going to show you how and why. Here's a question for you. Can you find 10 minutes today? 10 minutes. That's less time than a coffee break. Less time than scrolling through social media. Less time than watching a single episode of your favorite series. But those 10 minutes, when used with intention, can become your most powerful tool for fluency. It's not about how much time you have. It's about what you do with it. There's a common mistake that many learners make. They wait for the weekend. They think, on Saturday, I'll study for 2 hours. Then Saturday comes and they feel tired. Or something unexpected happens, and they skip it. Maybe they try again next week. But it becomes a cycle of delay and frustration. That's why daily practice, short, consistent moments, is so much more effective. Your brain learns. Language is better when it receives input every day. Not once a week. Every single day. Even a few minutes is enough to keep the connection alive in your mind. Think of it like watering a plant. If you water it once a week with a big bucket, it might survive, but it struggles. If you give it a little water every day, it grows strong and healthy. Your English is the same. A little bit every day makes all the difference. So, how do you use your 10 minutes? Let me give you some practical ideas. And remember, it's not about doing everything. It's about choosing one thing and doing it well. The first idea is listening. Choose a short English podcast or a YouTube video with subtitles. Something simple, maybe 5 or 6 minutes long. Listen once without reading, then listen again, this time reading the subtitles. If there's a phrase you like or don't understand, pause. Write it down. Say it out loud. Repeat it. That's enough for one day. You don't need to understand everything. Just focus on a few clear sentences and really make them yours. Another great idea is speaking. You can talk to yourself in English, even if it feels strange at first. Start with one sentence. Describe what you're doing. I'm making coffee. Then add more. I'm making coffee because I feel tired. I woke up late today. Just like that. You're building language in your mind. And the more you speak, the more natural it becomes. You're not just thinking about English, you're using it. Writing is another simple and effective way to practice in 10 minutes. Open a notebook or your phone and write a short paragraph. Maybe about your day, maybe about your plans, or your opinion on a topic. For example, today I woke up early, I went for a walk. The weather was nice, I listened to music. These short sentences build confidence. You start to see that you can express yourself. And if you do this every day, your writing becomes more fluid. You can also try what I call the daily 3. It's a small routine. Listen, speak, write. In 10 minutes, you can spend 3 minutes listening, 3 minutes speaking, and 4 minutes writing. It's simple, it's flexible, and it's powerful. You're using multiple skills in one short session, and your brain starts connecting all the parts of the language together. One thing I recommend is keeping your tools ready. Have a playlist of English videos or podcasts you enjoy. Keep a small notebook or a notes app on your phone. Choose a specific time every day, maybe right after breakfast or before you go to bed. When it becomes part of your routine, it becomes automatic. You don't have to think about it, you just do it. I know some of you are busy. Maybe you have school, work, family, responsibilities. You might think 10 minutes is not enough. But believe me, it is. If you use those minutes wisely, they will build up over time. 10 minutes a day means over an hour of English practice in 1 week. And in 1 month, that's more than 5 hours. More than 5 hours of focused, personal practice. Not passive watching, not just reading, real use of English. And the best part? It doesn't feel heavy. You don't feel overwhelmed. Because you're not waiting for the perfect moment. You're not trying to do too much. You're making English a part of your life, one small step at a time. Let me share something that might help you stay motivated. Think of one thing you already do every day, something small. Maybe you make tea in the morning, or you take the bus to work, or you scroll through your phone before bed. Can you connect that habit to your English practice? For example, listen to a podcast while making tea. Speak a few sentences while walking to the bus stop. Write 1 paragraph before checking your messages at night. These small links between your life and your learning are what create consistency. And consistency is what leads to fluency. So today I'm asking you again, can you find 10 minutes? Can you give yourself that gift? Not for me. Not for your teacher. For you. For your future self. For the version of you that speaks English with confidence and clarity. If your answer is yes, then you're already on the right path. Because it's not about doing everything perfectly, it's about showing up every day for 10 minutes. You're not just learning English, you're building a habit. And that habit will take you further than any long, stressful study session ever could. Let me tell you about Amina. She lives in Cairo, Egypt, and for a long time she believed she didn't have time to learn English. Her days were full. She took care of her children, helped her parents, worked part-time, and managed the entire household. Every hour of her day was already taken. So when people said, "You should study English," she would just smile and say, "Yes, maybe someday." But Amina wanted more. She had always dreamed of speaking English confidently, not just to help her children with homework, but for herself. She wanted to understand movies without subtitles. She wanted to feel confident at work meetings when international clients visited. Most of all, she wanted to feel proud of her voice in English. The problem was time. Or at least, that's what she thought. Until one day, something simple happened that changed her perspective. She was cooking dinner, just like she did every evening, and she thought, what if I listen to something in English while I cook? That moment was the beginning of a completely new chapter for her. She found a short English podcast and played it while chopping vegetables. At first, she didn't understand much, just a few words here and there. But the next day, she tried again, then the next. Every evening as she stirred the soup or prepared rice, she would press play and listen. 10, 15, 20 minutes of English every single day. Little by little, things started to change. She began to recognize words she had heard before. She started repeating simple phrases out loud while washing dishes. If the speaker said, "How are you today?" Amina would answer back, "I'm good, thank you." She was turning her kitchen into her own personal classroom. But here's what really made the difference. She wasn't studying. She was just listening, just living her life. The kitchen, which used to be a place of stress and chores, became a space for practice, learning, and discovery. And because it became part of her daily routine, she didn't have to find extra time. She just used the time she already had. After a few weeks, something unexpected happened. Her daughter asked for help with her English homework, and Amina understood the instructions without using Google Translate. She helped her daughter write a simple paragraph about their family. It was a small victory, but to Amina, it felt huge. She realized that her listening was getting stronger, and with it, her confidence. Encouraged by that moment, she started to add more English to her day. While she waited for the rice to boil, She would describe her actions in English. I'm cutting tomatoes. Now I'm adding salt. These weren't perfect sentences, but they were hers. They were real. And every time she spoke, her mouth and her brain became more comfortable with English. Soon, she started using short English videos on her phone, easy ones, with clear speech and subtitles. She would listen to a sentence, pause, and repeat it. Out loud. Sometimes she repeated the same sentence 5 or 6 times, but each repetition made her feel a little braver, a little closer to fluency. Amina told me something beautiful during one of our conversations. She said, "Julia, my kitchen speaks English now." I loved that. It wasn't just a joke, it was the truth. Because she had filled that space with words, sounds, and practice. The kitchen became her English zone. Not because she studied hard, but because she made a small habit and stayed with it. Let's talk about how powerful that kind of practice can be. When you attach English to something you already do, something automatic, you remove the pressure. You don't sit down at a desk thinking, now I must study. You just live. And while you live, you learn. Amina never had to cancel anything in her schedule. She didn't need to enroll in a class or spend money on textbooks. She used what she had. She used her time wisely. And that's what made all the difference. One night, after months of listening in the kitchen, she had the chance to speak with a tourist who was lost in her neighborhood. Normally, she would have felt nervous, but this time she said, "Hello. Do you need help?" The tourist smiled and asked for directions. Amina gave them in simple English. And the best part? She didn't stop to think. She just spoke. That small moment, that everyday interaction, was more powerful than any test score or grammar rule. It showed her that she could use English in real life. It reminded her that fluency doesn't always come from books. Sometimes, it comes from your kitchen, your living room, your daily life. So what can we learn from Amina? First, that your environment can become your classroom. Second, that practice doesn't need to be formal to be effective. And third, that confidence is built in small, quiet moments, often when no one is watching. I want you to think about your own routine. Where do you spend your time every day? Maybe it's your kitchen, like Amina. Maybe it's your car, your commute, your walk to school, or your morning coffee. What if you turned that time into English time? What if you listened, repeated, or even just thought in English during those moments? You don't need more time. You need more intention. Amina didn't find extra hours in her day. She simply changed how she used the minutes she already had. And over time, those minutes changed everything. You have that same power. You can take the small pieces of your day and fill them with English. Slowly, naturally, without stress, without perfection. Just practice. So maybe tonight, while you're cooking or cleaning or folding laundry, you can press play on an English podcast. Maybe you can say one sentence out loud. Maybe your kitchen, like Amina's, will begin to speak English too. Let's talk about how to make English a natural part of your day, even when you're busy. The truth is, you don't always need to sit down and study. You don't need a notebook, a quiet room, or even a plan. What you need is a shift in how you see English. Instead of thinking of it as something extra, something separate, think of it as something that fits into your normal life, into the things you already do. Every single day. One of the most powerful changes you can make in your English journey is learning how to turn ordinary activities into practice. That means using the time you already have to hear, think, or even speak in English. It's not about studying harder. It's about living with the language more. Let's start with something many people already enjoy: watching TV series. If you already watch shows or movies, this is the perfect place to begin. Try turning on the English subtitles. Even if the show is in English, having the subtitles helps your brain connect sounds with words. It helps you see how things are spelled, how people speak in different situations, and which phrases are commonly used. You don't have to understand everything. Just pay attention to the rhythm, the tone, and the simple expressions. You'll begin to notice that certain phrases appear again and again. Phrases like, "I don't know," "Are you serious?" or "Let's go." When you hear them enough, they become familiar. You don't need to translate them. You feel them. That's the goal. Now let's talk about reading. Not a full book, not a textbook. I'm talking about the small things you already see: Food labels, signs, menus, product instructions, or even your phone settings. You'd be surprised at how many opportunities there are to read a little English every day. The next time you buy something at the store, check the label in English. What words do you recognize? What's new? Maybe you see words like ingredients, shake well, or store in a cool place. Those are real, useful words. They stick because they're connected to real objects in your life. What about your thoughts? Have you ever tried thinking in English? It may feel strange at first, but it's a great way to practice. You don't need to speak out loud. You don't need to write anything down. Just try to describe what you're doing in English while you're doing it. For example, when you wake up and go to the bathroom, you might say in your head, I'm brushing my teeth. Now I'm washing my face. I feel sleepy. These are simple thoughts, but that's the point. You're training your brain to switch into English mode, naturally, without pressure. This kind of thinking practice can happen anytime. When you go for a walk, try naming what you see. A tree, a dog, a red car. Then build a sentence. The dog is running. The car is turning right. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to practice. This quiet repetition helps build automatic responses. Over time, your brain starts to create full sentences faster, and you don't have to translate from your native language anymore. Another tip is to create small routines that include English. Maybe when you brush your teeth, you listen to a short English audio. Maybe when you take a shower, you repeat a few useful phrases. Maybe when you're making coffee, you try to describe the process. I'm boiling water. I'm pouring it. Slowly. It smells good. The words don't need to be complex. They just need to connect with real actions in your life. One of my favorite exercises is to make a simple day plan in English. Before your day starts, say or write what you're going to do using easy language. Today I have work. I will send some emails. I need to go to the store. I will call my friend. This helps you prepare your mind for the vocabulary you'll need, and it makes you more confident when those moments actually happen. You can also use your phone for practice. Change the language settings to English. Start small, maybe just your social media apps. When you do this, you force yourself to interact with English words throughout the day, but in a way that's natural and connected to things you already understand. You'll learn vocabulary without even trying, because your brain will recognize patterns, buttons, and messages from context. When you walk outside, try playing a game with yourself. Look around and describe people's actions in English. He is talking on the phone. She is carrying a bag. They are waiting for the bus. These are simple observations, but they keep your brain active and connected to English. You're not just using the language, you're living in it, even for a few moments. You can also try short shadowing exercises. This means repeating what someone says as they say it. You can do this with videos, podcasts, or even Instagram clips. Listen to one sentence, pause, and say it yourself. Try to match the speed, rhythm, and tone. You don't have to get it perfect. What matters is the feeling. The more you do this, the more your mouth and brain start working together. It becomes easier to speak because you've already practiced the patterns in real situations. Let's not forget music. If you enjoy music in English, choose 1 or 2 songs you love. Read the lyrics. Sing along. Try to understand what the song is about. Even if you only learn one new phrase, that's progress. And because it's connected to music and emotion, it sticks in your memory longer. The real secret here is to stop separating English from the rest of your life. Make it part of everything, not just something you do for 30 minutes when you feel guilty. Make it part of your cooking, walking, cleaning, driving, relaxing. Let it live in the background of your routine. When you do this, you create a learning environment that is constant, but not stressful. You begin to absorb English without even noticing. You don't need perfect grammar. You don't need long study sessions. You just need consistent exposure, connected to your real life. I want you to think about your own day. Where are the small windows where you could add English? Is it while you fold laundry? Is it while you wait for your coffee to brew? Is it during your walk to work or school? You don't need to change your day. You just need to change your attention. This is the mindset that transforms passive learners into active ones. You don't wait for a classroom. You create your own learning space wherever you are. The best part is, you're not adding pressure to your day, you're just adding English. And little by little, it becomes a part of who you are. Let's talk about one of the most powerful but underrated habits you can build to improve your English: thinking in English. It sounds simple, and in many ways it is, but it's one of the most effective tools you can use to make English feel natural, to reduce the time you spend translating in your head, and to speak more confidently. And the best part? You can do it anywhere, at any time. You don't need a book, an app, or even a quiet space. You just need your mind and a little bit of intention. Here's something interesting. When we speak in our first language, we're not translating. We're just expressing our thoughts directly. That's fluency. So if your goal is to speak English more fluently, one of the first steps is to start thinking in English. You're teaching your brain to create a direct connection between your thoughts and English words. You're building a bridge where English is not a second layer. It becomes the first one. I know that for many people, this feels a little strange at first. Maybe you try to think in English, but the words don't come. Or maybe you think, this is silly. No one hears me. What's the point? But I want to remind you that fluency doesn't start when you open your mouth. It starts in your mind. It starts with the way you process ideas, the way you form sentences in your head, the way you prepare yourself mentally. So, how do you actually start thinking in English? Here's a simple and practical way. Describe what you're doing. That's it. Just describe your actions as you go through your day, and say it in English, even if no one is listening. For example, in the morning, when you get out of bed, say to yourself, I'm getting up now. I feel tired. I'm going to take a shower. These are short, clear sentences. You don't need complex grammar or big words. You just need to make the habit. Later, as you make breakfast, continue the habit. I'm making toast. I like butter. I need a knife. The coffee smells good. These small sentences help you connect English to your everyday life. They make the language real. They help you practice structure, verbs, vocabulary, and all without pressure. No one's correcting you. No one's watching. You're just building fluency, step by step. If this feels hard, start even smaller. Maybe you don't build full sentences yet. That's okay. Just start with individual words. When you see your phone, think phone. When you drink water, think water. When you see the sun, think sunshine. These words are like pieces of a puzzle. With time, they start to connect naturally. One day, you'll look at the sunshine and think, the sun is bright today, and you won't have to try so hard. Here's another idea. Ask yourself questions in English. During the day, try to check in with yourself. How do I feel right now? Maybe the answer is, I feel tired, or I feel happy. Or ask, what am I doing next? You might say, I'm going to work, or I'm meeting a friend. These are small conversations with yourself, but they train your brain to switch to English without needing a reason or a script. Some people like to do this out loud, especially when they're alone at home. That's even better because it combines thinking and speaking. But if you're in public or just not comfortable talking out loud, thinking silently is enough. The goal is the same: building mental fluency. Making English the first place your brain goes. And here's something interesting. The more you think in English, the less nervous you feel when you actually speak. Because your brain is already used to forming ideas in English, you're not starting from zero. When someone asks you a question, you don't freeze. You already have the language prepared. Even if your answer is simple, it comes faster. And that builds confidence. Let's take a quick example. Imagine you're walking through a park. You can start thinking in English like this. I see trees. The sky is blue. People are walking. I feel calm. These thoughts are short but powerful. They're real. They're connected to your senses, your emotions, your surroundings. And because they're true to your life, they're easier to remember and use. Later, when you're in a conversation and someone asks, how are you feeling today? You might say, I feel calm, because you've already practiced it earlier. Or if someone says, what did you do this morning? You might say, I went to the park, I saw trees, it was quiet. These moments become easier because your brain has rehearsed them before. It's also helpful to keep a few useful phrases in your head, phrases that you can use in many different situations. Things like, I don't know. That's interesting. Let me think. Or, I like that. Use these as mental tools when you think in English. Say them when you're deciding what to eat, or when you're choosing clothes, or even when you're planning your day. These phrases are flexible. They help you express opinions, make decisions, and react to the world. Another tip is to use your daily routine as your English thinking map. For example, every time you wash your hands, try to say something in English. Maybe, this water is cold, or I need soap. Or every time you sit down to eat, think, I'm hungry. I'm eating rice. It tastes good. By linking English to regular moments, you create mental anchors. Your brain starts to connect the language with action, with rhythm, with routine, and soon you're not just practicing English. You're living in it. You might even want to give yourself a challenge. Choose one activity a day where you commit to thinking only in English. Maybe it's while you cook dinner, or while you brush your teeth, or during your commute. Set a timer for 5 or 10 minutes and remind yourself, English only. It might feel awkward at first, but over time it becomes easier. You begin to enjoy the silence filled with English thoughts. You'll also notice patterns in your thinking. Maybe you always describe what you see, but not how you feel. Or maybe you talk about objects, but not actions. That's useful information. It shows you where to grow. It helps you expand your vocabulary, your grammar, your sentence style. Thinking in English becomes a mirror of your learning. And here's the best part. No one can judge you. No one hears your mistakes. No one interrupts you. You're in control. That gives you the freedom to experiment, to play, to repeat words until they sound right. It's a quiet, personal way to practice, but it builds real confidence, the kind that shows when you finally speak. So the next time you're washing dishes, walking your dog, standing in line, or even lying in bed, try it. Describe what you're doing. Say it in English, even if no one is listening. You're not just building vocabulary, you're building a voice. Your voice. In English. Let me tell you the story of Kenji. He's from Osaka, Japan. A quiet, thoughtful guy who always wanted to speak English well but felt stuck. Kenji had been studying English for years. He knew a lot of vocabulary. He could understand most of what he read or heard. But when it came to speaking, he froze. His heart would race, his mind would go blank, and he'd often avoid conversations altogether. The fear of making mistakes in front of others was just too strong. Can you relate to that? Maybe you've been in the same place. You know the words. You understand the questions. But the moment you have to speak out loud, everything becomes difficult. That was Kenji's reality. He wanted to speak fluently, but he couldn't break through that wall of fear. Until one day he tried something different. Something simple. Something no one had to hear or see. He started speaking to himself in the mirror. It began as a small experiment. Kenji remembered a teacher once saying that practicing in front of a mirror could help. At first, he felt a little silly, standing there looking at his own reflection, talking to himself in English. But he gave it a chance. On that first day, he just said one sentence. Hello, my name is Kenji. Then he repeated it again and again, until it felt natural. The next day, he added another sentence. I'm from Japan. And then another. I want to speak English confidently. Slowly, day by day, he built a habit. And something started to change. By using the mirror, Kenji created a private, safe space to practice speaking. No one was watching. No one was judging. It was just him and his reflection. That gave him the freedom to try new phrases, to experiment with his voice, and to see what he looked like when he spoke. He paid attention to how his mouth moved, how his face expressed emotion, how his pronunciation sounded. And here's the key. The mirror made it real. When you speak in your head, it's easy to hide. But when you look yourself in the eyes and say something out loud, it becomes a performance. Even if the audience is just your reflection, you're still practicing the courage to speak. Kenji started doing this for 5 minutes a day, then 10. Soon he had short conversations with himself. He'd imagine he was meeting someone new. He'd say, "Hi, how are you?" Then he'd respond, "I'm good, thank you. And you?" It may sound simple, but these little dialogues helped him prepare for real-life situations. He was rehearsing, getting used to the rhythm of speaking, the flow of words, and most importantly, the confidence of using his voice. One trick he used was to pick a topic every day. On Monday, he'd talk about his favorite food. I like ramen. It's warm and delicious. I usually eat it with friends. On Tuesday, he'd describe his daily routine. I wake up at 7, I brush my teeth, then I make coffee. On Wednesday, he'd pretend he was giving directions. Go straight, then turn left. The station is on the right. Each day, a new topic. Each day, new words, new sentences, new practice. Sometimes he made mistakes. He forgot a word. He mixed up tenses. But instead of feeling frustrated, he'd just smile at his reflection and try again. That's what made the mirror so powerful. It helped him see mistakes as part of the journey. No embarrassment, no pressure, just learning. After a few weeks, Kenji noticed a shift. His sentences were coming faster. His pronunciation was clearer. He even started to enjoy the practice. It became a part of his routine, like brushing his teeth or drinking tea. And because he was speaking every day, even just for a few minutes, his brain started to get used to the act of speaking. It wasn't a scary performance anymore. It was a habit. Eventually, Kenji felt ready to try speaking with others. He joined an online language exchange. And when the first video call started, he felt nervous, but something was different. His mouth already knew the words. His voice didn't shake. His face looked calm, just like it did in the mirror. And after a few minutes, he realized something amazing. He was having a real conversation in English with someone across the world. It wasn't perfect. He made mistakes. He paused. He had to search for some words. But he kept going. Because that mirror practice gave him something incredibly valuable: self-trust. He trusted that he could speak. He had already done it hundreds of times in front of himself. And that practice made all the difference. So if you ever feel like Kenji, afraid to speak, worried about mistakes, unsure where to start, try the mirror. Stand in front of it and say one sentence. Just one. Then add another. Look yourself in the eyes. Speak with intention. You're not performing for anyone else. You're building a connection with your English-speaking self. And remember, fluency isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. About showing up for yourself, even in small moments. Kenji didn't go from silence to fluency overnight. He took small steps, and the mirror helped him take those steps with courage. You don't need expensive tools or fancy apps to do this. Just a mirror, your voice, and a few minutes a day. Start with what you know. Describe your day. Practice. Greetings. Pretend you're ordering food or meeting someone for the first time. The more you speak, the more natural it feels. And the more you believe in your ability to communicate. Kenji's story is a reminder that practice doesn't always need to be public to be powerful. Sometimes the most important progress happens when no one is watching, except you. And that's enough to change everything. Let's talk about something that can make a huge difference in your language learning journey: using your own voice. Now, I know what you might be thinking. What do you mean by using my own voice? I'm already speaking out loud. But there's a deeper level to this, and it's something that could help you improve your speaking skills faster than you might think. Here's the thing. We all know how important it is to practice speaking when learning a new language. But speaking isn't just about moving your mouth and making sounds. It's about connecting your thoughts to words in real time. And it's also about improving your pronunciation, your intonation, and how natural you sound when you speak. And one of the best ways to do that is to hear your own voice. When you listen to yourself speak, something magical happens. You start to notice things that you might not have been aware of before. Maybe you're pronouncing a word a little too fast or a little too slow. Maybe your tone goes flat or you sound a bit unsure. By hearing these things, you can actively correct them and improve faster. Here's a practical example. You've probably had moments where you said a sentence in English, and someone responded by saying, "What?" Or maybe they looked confused. This can be frustrating, right? But here's the truth. It's not about your grammar. It's likely about how you're saying the words, your pronunciation, or your intonation. So, what can you do to fix that? Start recording yourself. This is a simple and powerful tool that's available to all of us. You don't need any fancy equipment, just your phone, a voice recorder app, or even a video camera. When you speak in English, record yourself. Then, listen to the recording. When you hear your voice, listen carefully to how you say the words. Are there sounds that you're not quite hitting? Do you need to slow down? Are you stressing the right words, or do you sound a bit robotic? These are the things that we don't always catch when we're speaking live, but they're key to sounding more natural and fluent. Now, you might be wondering, why is this so effective? Well, when we speak, our minds are busy processing thoughts, forming sentences, and figuring out what to say next. We don't always focus on how we sound, but when you record yourself, you're giving yourself a chance to pause and reflect. You become more aware of the little things that make a big difference in communication. For example, let's say you're practicing a sentence like, I love traveling to new places. When you record it and listen back, you might notice that the word traveling doesn't sound quite right. Maybe you're saying it too quickly or without enough emphasis. So you can repeat the sentence again, this time paying special attention to how you pronounce that word. The next time you say it, it will sound much better. One thing that helps is to repeat the recording process. Record, listen, and then repeat the sentence. This cycle allows you to actively improve. Don't just say the sentence once and move on. Record it, listen carefully, and try again. With each repetition, you'll notice improvements, and over time, you'll find that the changes become automatic. The more you record, the more your brain will get used to the correct pronunciation and intonation, making it easier to speak fluently. Here's another reason why recording your voice is so valuable. It helps you build confidence. One of the biggest obstacles to speaking English, especially for beginners, is the fear of making mistakes. But when you record yourself, you're not in a live conversation. There's no pressure. You can take your time, make mistakes, and fix them. This creates a safe space for you to experiment with your voice, your pronunciation, and your speaking style. Let's take a look at a practical scenario. Imagine you're trying to order food in English at a restaurant. You've practiced the phrase, I would like to order a pizza. But when you say it out loud, it doesn't sound quite right. When you record yourself, you might realize that you're saying it too quickly or without the right emphasis. So you slow down and say, I would like to order a pizza, with a little more energy and clarity. Now, when you go to a restaurant, you'll feel much more confident because you've already practiced the sentence, and you've heard how it should sound. It's also helpful to practice in different contexts. If you're studying English for work or travel, think about the situations you'll face and practice phrases for those. Record yourself saying, excuse me, where is the nearest bus stop? Or I need help with this project. The more you practice these specific scenarios, the more prepared you'll be when the time comes. And remember, you don't need to be perfect. Don't worry if your voice doesn't sound exactly like a native speaker's. The goal is to be understood clearly and to feel confident. That's the power of using your own voice to practice. With each recording, you'll get better at pronouncing words, stressing syllables correctly, and using the right tone. It's a way to fine-tune your skills and get closer to speaking naturally. Another tip I want to share with you is to compare your recordings. As you continue to practice, go back to your earlier recordings and listen to them. You'll be amazed at how much you've improved. You'll hear the difference in your voice, in your fluency, and in your confidence. This is one of the best ways to track your progress and stay motivated. So let's break this down into a simple routine you can start today. First, pick a sentence or a short paragraph to practice. It could be something simple like, I live in New York, or my favorite hobby is reading books. Record yourself saying it. Then, listen to the recording carefully. Notice any areas where you can improve. Maybe you need to slow down, emphasize certain words, or adjust your tone. Repeat the sentence, paying attention to those areas. Record it again. Listen. And repeat. You'll find that with each cycle, you improve. You build a stronger connection to the language and become more comfortable using it. This is a simple but powerful way to practice speaking English. Record, repeat, improve. It's a method that works because it helps you actively listen to yourself. Identify areas for improvement and reinforce the correct pronunciation and rhythm. Over time, it becomes second nature. And that's when you'll see the real progress. So, next time you feel like you need to improve your speaking, grab your phone, hit record, and start practicing. Your voice is one of the best tools you have. Use it to make your English sound better, feel more natural, and help you communicate with confidence. Remember, the more you practice, the better you get. And the more you hear yourself improving, the more motivated you'll become to keep going. Let's dive into one of the simplest yet most powerful techniques to practice speaking English, using everyday phrases. You might be thinking, I already know a few phrases. How is saying them out loud going to help me? Well, this technique is actually a game changer, and it's something that can make a big impact on your fluency over time. The idea behind this practice is to speak in real life situations, but in a way that feels comfortable and easy. Instead of focusing on complicated sentences or trying to memorize vocabulary, you can start with simple phrases, things you're already doing throughout the day. These phrases are short, They use vocabulary that's relevant to you, and they can be repeated easily. And when you say them out loud, you engage both your body and your brain in the learning process. Think about this. When you say something like, I'm brushing my teeth, or I'm walking to the store, you're activating different parts of your brain. You're not just thinking about the words, you're also making connections between actions and language. The brain loves repetition, and by practicing simple, everyday phrases, you're reinforcing your vocabulary in a very natural and effective way. Now let's break this down. Imagine you're at home, getting ready for the day. Instead of keeping your thoughts to yourself, try speaking them out loud in English. For example, when you wake up, you might say to yourself, I'm waking up now. When you get out of bed, try saying, I'm getting out of bed. When you walk to the bathroom, say, I'm walking to the bathroom. It might feel a little strange at first, but the more you practice, the more natural it will become. These are simple phrases, but they're incredibly effective because they relate to what you're already doing. This is important because learning in context helps you understand how the language works in real life. You're not just memorizing words, you're connecting them to your routine, which makes it easier to remember and use them later on. Here's the key to making this work: practicing out loud. When you speak, your brain processes the words differently than when you just read them or think them. Speaking out loud forces you to use your muscles, your mouth, your tongue, your lips, and this physical aspect of speaking helps you improve your pronunciation and fluency. You're not just hearing the words in your head, but you're producing them in real time, which is where the magic happens. Let's look at a few more examples. Suppose you're getting ready to go out. You can say things like, I'm putting on my jacket, or I'm going out now. Maybe you're preparing lunch and you could say, I'm cutting vegetables, or I'm making lunch. By using these everyday actions as a way to practice English, you're reinforcing your vocabulary and sentence structure without even realizing it. The beauty of this method is that it doesn't take much extra time out of your day. You're already doing these things, so why not use them as opportunities to practice? Instead of thinking of language learning as something you have to schedule or set aside time for, try to integrate it into your daily life. Speak out loud whenever you can, and you'll be surprised at how much progress you make. Another great benefit of this practice is that it helps you get used to the sound of your own voice in English. Many learners are afraid to speak because they're not confident in how they sound. They worry about making mistakes or sounding wrong. But when you practice saying simple phrases out loud, you build comfort with your voice. You start to hear yourself speaking in English, and that boosts your confidence. Over time, you'll feel more comfortable speaking with others, because you've already been practicing your voice and sentence structure every day. It's also helpful to repeat these phrases in different ways. Instead of just saying, I'm going to work, try saying, I'm leaving for work, or I'm heading to work. This simple change can help you build flexibility in your language skills. It allows you to practice different ways of saying the same thing, which makes your speaking sound more natural and less repetitive. Another variation you can try is using the past tense or future tense. For example, if you're talking about something you did yesterday, you can say, I brushed my teeth, or I went to work. Or if you're talking about something you plan to do tomorrow, you can say, I will brush my teeth, or I will go to work. These variations give you more practice with different verb tenses, helping you become more comfortable using them in conversation. Now let's think about how this practice works beyond just vocabulary. When you practice simple sentences like I'm eating dinner or I'm talking to a friend, you're also practicing sentence structure. English sentence structure follows a certain pattern, and the more you use these phrases, the more you'll start to internalize the order of words and how sentences are built. This is crucial for speaking fluently. Another benefit is that when you say these phrases aloud, you're also practicing your intonation. Intonation refers to the rise and fall in your voice as you speak. English has a particular rhythm and melody, and by saying these simple sentences out loud, you start to get a feel for how English sounds. For example, when you say, I'm eating lunch, your tone should naturally rise slightly at the beginning and fall towards the end. Paying attention to these small details helps make your speech sound more natural. The key to success with this method is consistency. Try to practice speaking these simple sentences every day. Even if you only speak for a few minutes, you're still making progress. Over time, these phrases will become second nature. You'll no longer have to think about what to say when you're talking about your daily activities. You'll just say them without hesitation. And remember, there's no need to focus on perfection. The goal here is fluency. You're not trying to speak perfectly every time. You're trying to speak more often, more naturally. Don't worry if you make mistakes. Just keep practicing, and over time, you'll notice improvements in your speaking ability. So, I want you to start today. Pick one simple phrase, something you're doing right now, and say it out loud. Then, build on that. As you go through your day, try to speak about everything you're doing. Whether you're walking, eating, working, or talking to someone, practice saying it in English. With each phrase you say, you're building your confidence, your vocabulary, and your fluency. And most importantly, you're making English a natural part of your life. Marie, a young woman from France, faced the common struggle many learners encounter when trying to improve their speaking skills in a new language. She knew a lot of vocabulary and could understand English when she heard it. But when it came to speaking, she felt unsure and hesitant. Every time she tried to form a sentence, she stumbled over the words, and often she ended up saying nothing at all. This was frustrating for her because she knew she had the potential, but the confidence just wasn't there. Marie decided to make a change. Instead of trying to tackle long, complex sentences or memorize entire dialogues, she chose a much simpler approach. She picked 5 phrases she could use in her daily life. Phrases that would be easy for her to remember, yet powerful enough to help her feel confident when speaking. These phrases became the cornerstone of her English practice, and the story of how she used them is a perfect example of the power of repetition in language learning. The 5 phrases she chose were simple, but practical. "How are you?" was one of them, something she could say to friends or colleagues every day. Another was, "I'm doing well, thank you," which she could use in return. She also picked, "I need help with this," a phrase she often used when talking to people at work. She included, "Can I have the bill, please?" for when she went out to eat, and "It's nice to meet you," a polite greeting she used whenever she met someone new. These were all phrases that she would naturally say in her daily life, and they felt comfortable to her. Marie's approach was simple but effective. Every day, she repeated these 5 phrases to herself, out loud, until they became second nature. She would say them while making breakfast in the morning, while walking to work, and sometimes even while sitting in traffic. By doing this, she wasn't just memorizing words. She was connecting the language to her daily routine. Over time, these phrases began to feel more natural, and she noticed something remarkable. They started to come out without any hesitation. When someone greeted her, "How are you?" she would automatically respond, "I'm doing well, thank you." When she needed to ask for the check at a restaurant, "Can I have the bill, please?" came out effortlessly. The phrases had become part of her everyday speech. This process of repetition is incredibly powerful in language learning. By focusing on a small number of phrases, Marie created a foundation she could build on. She didn't overwhelm herself with the pressure to learn a huge amount of vocabulary all at once. Instead, she focused on mastering a few phrases and practicing them until they became ingrained in her mind. Repetition is a key to making language feel natural. The more you repeat something, the more automatic it becomes. You no longer have to think about the words or how to put the sentence together. It just flows. Marie's experience also highlights the importance of choosing phrases that are both useful and relevant to you. By picking phrases that she would use regularly, she made her practice feel meaningful. Every time she repeated them, she wasn't just practicing, she was reinforcing the language she was already using in her life. This made her practice feel less like a chore and more like a way to connect with the world around her. For anyone learning English, this approach can be incredibly helpful. If you want to build fluency, start by selecting a few phrases that you can use every day. They don't have to be complicated. In fact, the simpler, the better. Think about your routine. What are the things you say on a regular basis? What are the situations where you might need to speak English? Is it when you're ordering food at a restaurant, greeting someone at work, talking to a friend? These are great opportunities to practice. Once you have your phrases, start using them every day. The key is repetition. Say the phrases out loud. As often as you can. Do it in the car, in front of the mirror, while cooking dinner, whenever you can. The more you use these phrases, the more they will become a part of your natural speech. It's important to note that you don't need to rush this process. Marie didn't expect herself to speak fluently overnight. She understood that fluency takes time and consistency. The beauty of her approach is that it allowed her to build confidence without the pressure to speak perfectly right away. Every time she said one of her 5 phrases, she felt a little more comfortable with the language. And that comfort is what eventually led to fluency. Another aspect of Marie's story that I want to emphasize is how repetition can build your confidence. Early on, Marie was self-conscious about speaking English. She didn't want to make mistakes or sound wrong. But as she kept repeating her chosen phrases, she started to feel more at ease. The phrases became like a shield, giving her the confidence to speak up when she needed to. The more she practiced, the more comfortable she felt, and eventually, she was speaking with more fluidity and confidence in conversations. This approach can work for anyone, no matter where you are in your language learning journey. If you're just starting out, begin with basic phrases you'll use every day. If you've been learning for a while, try adding a few more complex sentences to your routine. The important thing is to make the practice manageable and consistent. Marie's method is a great example of how focusing on quality over quantity can lead to real progress. By mastering just a few key phrases and repeating them regularly, she was able to make a big leap in her confidence and fluency. Her story shows that language learning isn't about memorizing endless lists of vocabulary or trying to speak perfectly. It's about making the language a natural part of your life through consistent practice. For those of you listening, I encourage you to try Marie's approach. Pick 5 phrases that are meaningful to you and start repeating them every day. Over time, you'll notice that your ability to speak English naturally will improve, and you'll feel more confident in your language skills. Don't worry about perfection. Focus on progress. And remember, repetition is your friend. The more you say something, the easier it becomes. Just like Marie, you'll start to feel more comfortable using English in your everyday life. When it comes to language learning, one of the most effective strategies is to incorporate things you love into your practice. Too often, people think that they have to follow rigid textbooks, memorize endless vocabulary lists, or force themselves to study topics that don't excite them. But here's the secret. If you focus on subjects that you are passionate about, learning English can become something you look forward to every day. The key is to use your interests and hobbies as a way to practice, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Let me ask you this. What do you love? Is it sports, music, cooking, movies, books? Whatever it is, there's a way to use that interest to improve your English. It's all about bringing the things you enjoy into your daily practice. Think about it. If you're genuinely interested in something, you'll want to engage with it, right? And when you engage with something you enjoy, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like fun. And the more fun you have, the more likely you are to keep going. The key to consistent practice is enjoyment. So, how can we make this work? Let's take sports as an example. Maybe you're a huge fan of soccer, or perhaps you love basketball. Instead of only watching your favorite games in your native language, try switching to English commentary. If you usually watch sports in your first language, try finding highlights or games that are presented in English. This allows you to practice listening to real-life English, hear natural speech, and learn the vocabulary that's relevant to the sport you love. Not only are you practicing English, but you're also deepening your knowledge of the sport, which keeps you motivated to keep going. For example, let's say you're watching a soccer match and you hear a commentator say, "That was a beautiful pass down the wing." Pay attention to how they pronounce words like wing or pass, and try repeating the sentence in your head or out loud. Notice the tone, the rhythm, and how they emphasize certain words. This gives you a chance to practice your listening skills, as well as your pronunciation. You can even go a step further by reading articles or following social media pages about the sport in English. This not only builds your vocabulary, but also helps you get used to the different ways English is spoken in various contexts. Now let's talk about music. Many people love listening to music, and this is another fantastic way to practice your English every day. Whether it's pop, rock, rap, or classical, music can be a powerful tool for language learning. When you listen to a song in English, you're not just hearing the words, you're also absorbing the rhythm, the melody, and the flow of the language. The lyrics of your favorite songs can teach you everyday expressions, idioms, and even slang. If you don't understand a word or phrase, look it up. Try to understand the meaning behind the lyrics, and once you understand, sing along. This helps with pronunciation, rhythm, and fluency. The more you listen and repeat, the more familiar you become with the natural cadence of English. Take a song like Imagine by John Lennon. It's a simple yet beautiful song with clear lyrics. You can listen to it and learn phrases like, imagine there's no heaven, or imagine all the people living life in peace. These are phrases that you can easily remember, and they're meaningful because they come from a song you enjoy. It's not just about memorizing random words, it's about connecting what you hear to something that brings you joy. Another area where you can use your interest to practice is cooking. If you love food and cooking, there's no reason why you can't use this passion as a way to learn English. Watch cooking shows or YouTube tutorials in English, read recipes in English, and even try to cook using only English language instructions. If you're in the kitchen, take a moment to describe what you're doing in English. I'm chopping the onions, or I'm mixing the ingredients. Not only are you practicing vocabulary related to food and cooking, but you're also learning practical expressions that you can use in everyday conversations. You can also try cooking along with your favorite cooking shows. Many chefs and food bloggers post recipes online in English, and you can use those to practice your reading and listening skills. It's a fun way to improve your English while learning to make something delicious. You might even discover new recipes or cooking techniques that you never thought of before. Movies are another amazing resource for practicing English. If you love films, this is an excellent way to practice every day. Whether you're watching a classic movie in English, a popular TV series, or even YouTube videos, try to watch with English subtitles. This way, you can hear the words and see how they're written at the same time. You'll improve your listening skills and expand your vocabulary. Plus, watching movies in English can help you learn common phrases and expressions used in everyday conversations. For example, imagine you're watching a scene from a movie where two characters are talking about making plans. One character says, "How about we grab coffee tomorrow?" And the other responds, "Sounds good. Let's meet at noon." This is a simple conversation, but it's full of useful phrases. You can practice repeating them and start using them in your own conversations. The more you immerse yourself in the language through the things you love, the more natural English will start to feel. Another great way to practice through movies is by trying to imitate the characters. Listen to how they pronounce words and mimic their accents, tone, and expressions. You might find yourself speaking more confidently, just like the characters you admire. So, whether it's sports, music, cooking, movies, or anything else that you're passionate about, don't be afraid to use it as a way to practice your English. If you love it, you'll learn with joy, and that joy will motivate you to practice every day. The more you incorporate these interests into your routine, the more you'll feel connected to the language. The best part is, it won't feel like studying at all. It will feel like you're just doing what you love while improving your English at the same time. Ask yourself, what do you love? And how can you bring that into your practice today? Let me tell you about Musa, a young man from Nigeria, who found an unconventional yet highly effective way to practice English. Musa loved rap music. He wasn't just a casual listener, he was deeply immersed in it. He knew all the lyrics to his favorite songs, and the rhythm of rap music spoke to him on a level that most other genres didn't. But Musa didn't stop there. He realized that the power of rap could be more than just entertainment. It could become a tool for learning and improving his English. Musa's story is a great example of how passion can be a powerful motivator for language learning. Instead of simply enjoying rap as a hobby, he decided to use it as a way to practice English. This approach not only kept him engaged, but it also turned his love for music into an ongoing opportunity for improvement. And here's why this is so effective. Rap music is full of rhythm, rhymes, and repetitive patterns that make it easier to remember new words and phrases. It's also often very conversational, which means it teaches you the kinds of expressions and slang that people use. In everyday conversations, Musa started by listening closely to the lyrics of his favorite songs. He would focus on every word, making sure to understand the meaning behind the lyrics. This is one of the best ways to practice English. You're hearing real, natural English in a context that is meaningful to you. For Musa, the lyrics were more than just words. They were a window into the way people speak in real life. He'd write down phrases or lines that he liked or didn't understand, then look them up and practice them. It wasn't just about the meaning of the words, but also about understanding how they were used in context. The beauty of rap music is that it's full of rhythm and flow. This helped Musa with his pronunciation and speaking rhythm. English can be tricky when it comes to intonation and emphasis, but rap music allowed him to practice these elements in a fun and repetitive way. When you listen to rap, you hear how words are emphasized, how they connect, and how the rhythm of speech changes depending on the flow of the verse. By imitating the way the rappers spoke, Musa was able to improve his own pronunciation without feeling like he was sitting in a classroom memorizing rules. Musa didn't just listen to the music passively, he would repeat the lyrics out loud, trying to match the speed and rhythm of the rapper. This active participation is key to language learning. By practicing the rap lyrics, Musa wasn't just improving his vocabulary, he was also practicing his speaking skills. His ability to speak quickly and clearly improved, and his confidence in speaking English grew. He wasn't worried about making mistakes because he was simply enjoying the process of learning through something he loved. Another thing Musa did was analyze the lyrics for new vocabulary. Rap music often uses slang, colloquial expressions, and phrases that are commonly used in everyday English. This gave him a real-world understanding of how the language is spoken informally. As he learned more phrases, he began to incorporate them into his own speech. For example, he might hear a rapper say, "I'm on fire," which means that someone is doing something really well. Musa could then use that phrase in his own conversations to express how well he was doing at something. The great thing about learning from rap is that these expressions feel fresh and modern, and they're often used by people in everyday conversations. Musa's method was not only about listening and repeating lyrics. He also began to write his own rap lyrics in English. This was a fun way for him to practice his writing skills and expand his vocabulary. He started by writing simple lines that mirrored the structure and style of the rap songs he loved, then gradually worked on making his lyrics more complex. Writing in this way helped him understand grammar and sentence structure, while also expressing himself creatively in English. It was a fun, stress-free way to learn, and it kept him motivated to continue improving. Musa's love for rap music turned out to be one of the most effective ways for him to practice English. He was learning vocabulary, improving his pronunciation, understanding grammar, and gaining confidence in speaking, all while doing something he truly enjoyed. The best part about his approach is that it was natural for him. He didn't force himself to sit down and study English for hours every day. Instead, he was integrating English practice into something that was already part of his daily life. What I love about Musa's story is that it shows us the power of personal passion in language learning. It doesn't matter if you love rap music or if your passion lies elsewhere, whether it's movies, sports, or something completely different. The important thing is that you can use what you love as a tool for learning. The more connected you are to the material you're using to practice, the more likely you are to stick with it. And the more you stick with it, the faster your language skills will improve. So let me ask you, what do you love? Can it help your English? Whether it's rap, sports, cooking, or something else, find a way to incorporate your passion into your language practice. Just like Musa, you can turn something you enjoy into a daily practice that improves your English skills, all while having fun. And who knows? Maybe your love for music or movies will be the key to unlocking your fluency in English. It's all about making your practice enjoyable and relevant to your life. When you do that, the learning will happen naturally. Let's talk about how to create a simple yet effective daily practice plan that you can start using right away to improve your English.
This mini plan will take you only 5 minutes of your day difference in your language skills over time. The key here is consistency, and it doesn't need it to be over.
And writing. You can easily incorporate English practice into your daily routine. Step 1. Listen for 5 minutes. Listening is one of the most important skills to develop when learning a language. It helps you get used to the rhythm, tone, and flow of English. The first step in your mini plan is to spend just 5 minutes listening to something in English every day. It can be a podcast, an audiobook, a short video, or even a song. The goal is not to understand every single word, but to expose yourself to the language in a natural, real-world context. This exposure will help you develop your ear for English, and you'll start recognizing familiar words and phrases over time. For example, you can choose a podcast episode from the English Talk community and listen to it while you're getting ready in the morning or on your way to work. If you're a beginner, it might help to start with podcasts that provide slow, clear speech so you can catch the words more easily. As you improve, try listening to faster content to challenge your listening skills. But remember, don't stress about understanding everything right away. The more you listen, the easier it will become to pick up new vocabulary and to understand the context of conversations. Step 2. Speak for 5 minutes. Now that you've spent a few minutes listening to English, it's time to speak. Speaking is Essential because it helps you practice forming sentences, using new vocabulary, and improving your pronunciation. The goal here is not perfection, it's about getting comfortable with expressing yourself in English. You can practice speaking in a few different ways depending on what feels natural to you. If you're not ready to speak with someone else, try speaking to yourself. Stand in front of a mirror and describe what you're doing at that moment. For example, if you're brushing your teeth, say, "I'm brushing my teeth." If you're cooking dinner, say, "I'm cooking dinner." It might feel awkward at first, but don't worry. This is a great way to get used to using English in real-life situations. Over time, you'll feel more confident speaking out loud. Alternatively, if you're comfortable practicing with someone else, try having a quick conversation in English. It could be with a language exchange partner or a friend who's also learning English. You can talk about simple things like your plans for the day or your favorite movie, or just ask each other about how things are going. The point is to speak for at least 5 minutes each day, even if it's just casual practice. This will help you become more fluent and natural when speaking English. Step 3. Write for 5 minutes. Writing is another powerful way to reinforce what you've learned. In this final step of your mini plan, spend the next 5 minutes writing something in English. It doesn't need to be long, and you don't have to write an essay. Just focus on writing a few simple sentences. For example, you could write about your day, what you're planning to do tomorrow, or describe a recent experience. If you're not sure what to write, you can use a simple prompt to get started. For example, "What did I do today?" Or "What are my goals for this week?" Write for 5 minutes without worrying too much about grammar or vocabulary. The goal is to practice getting your thoughts down in English and to help you become more comfortable with sentence structure and word choice. Over time, you'll notice that writing in English becomes easier, and you'll start thinking in English more naturally. Here's a quick model of your daily practice plan. Listen for 5 minutes. Choose a podcast, video, or song in English and listen for 5 minutes. Focus on hearing the words, the flow of the language, and the rhythm of native speakers. Speak for 5 minutes. Use simple sentences to describe what you're doing, or have a quick conversation with a language partner. Don't worry about mistakes. Just practice speaking. Write for 5 minutes. Write a short paragraph or a few sentences about something you experienced or your plans. The more you practice, the easier it will get. This plan is short and simple, but it's incredibly powerful because it combines all the essential language skills: listening, speaking, and writing. It only takes 15 minutes a day. But when you practice, every single day, you'll be amazed at how quickly you improve. You'll start noticing that your vocabulary is expanding, your pronunciation is getting clearer, and you're becoming more confident in your ability to express yourself in English. The best part is that you can fit this practice into your everyday life, no matter how busy you are. You don't need to carve out an hour to study English. 15 minutes a day is enough to see real progress. Just be consistent, and over time, you'll notice that your English skills are improving in ways you didn't expect. So, the next time you find yourself with a few free minutes, ask yourself, how can I use these 15 minutes to practice English today? Whether it's listening to a podcast, speaking to yourself in the mirror, or writing a short paragraph, those minutes will add up, and your progress will speak for itself. As we reach the end of today's episode, I want to leave you with a simple, yet powerful question. What's one small thing you'll do in English today? It could be as simple as listening to a podcast for 5 minutes, speaking a sentence out loud while you're getting ready, or writing a few words in your journal. The key here is not to overcomplicate things or try to do too much at once. Instead, focus on something small, something achievable, and commit to doing it today. I know that learning a new language can sometimes feel overwhelming. We often hear advice about how much time we should spend studying, or how many hours we should dedicate to practicing. But what I want to remind you of today is that consistency, even in small doses, is far more important than intensity. A little bit every day adds up, and before you know it, you'll be speaking more comfortably, listening more naturally, and thinking in English without even realizing it. So, think about it. What's one small thing you can do today? It's really about taking those baby steps. Whether it's practicing your speaking in the mirror for a few minutes, listening to a short podcast episode during your commute, or writing a few sentences in English before bed, whatever it is, just do it. And remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. Perfection isn't the goal. Progress is. Now, as you're thinking about that small action, I encourage you to reflect on how you can make this practice a daily habit. Consistency is what makes the difference in the long run. You don't need to study English for hours at a time. If you can find just 10 or 15 minutes a day and you do that every single day, the results will come. It's all about forming a habit that fits into your life, something you can easily commit to without feeling overwhelmed. And here's something else to consider. Can you share your answer with someone else? Maybe a friend, a language partner, or even a family member. Sharing your commitment makes it more real and holds you accountable in a fun way. You might even inspire someone else to start practicing their English as well. It's a win-win. You'll feel a sense of pride in taking action, and the person you share it with may be encouraged to do the same. As you go about your day, keep this simple idea in mind. What's one small thing I can do today in English? It's the consistency, not the intensity, that will lead to growth. It's the small, repeated actions that will build your confidence and skill over time. So don't worry if you only have 5 minutes or if you're not yet fluent. The most important thing is that you're making progress, even if it's just a little bit at a time. And when you practice every day, no matter how small the action, you'll be amazed at how much you can achieve. So I'll ask you once more. What's one small thing you'll do in English today? Think about it, do it, and see how it feels. And if you'd like, share your answer with someone you know. You might be surprised at how this simple question can help keep you focused and motivated on your language learning journey. Take a moment to reflect, and let that small action guide you today. As we come to the end of today's episode, I want to leave you with a final thought, something to carry with you throughout the rest of your day and beyond. Learning English, like any language, is a journey. It's not a race. So often, we feel the pressure to learn quickly or to reach fluency as fast as possible. We see others who seem to be progressing faster, and we might feel discouraged at times. But I want to remind you that this journey is about consistency, patience, and progress, not perfection. Every step you take, no matter how small, is part of the path to where you want to be. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to not have everything figured out, and it's okay to not feel fluent yet. What matters most is that you keep moving forward, even if it's just a little bit every day. Remember, every time you practice, every time you expose yourself to English, you are building the foundation for the future version of yourself, who will be much more confident, much more fluent, and much more comfortable using English in real-life situations. This journey is not about comparing yourself to others or rushing to the finish line. It's about focusing on your own progress and recognizing that every day you practice, you are improving. Think of the person you want to be in the future, the one who can speak confidently, understand movies without subtitles, or have conversations with people from all around the world. That future self is already within you, and the actions you take today, no matter how small, are the steps that will get you there. So as you go about your day, keep in mind that learning English is a process, and it's okay to take it one step at a time. Practice a little, every day. That's all you need to do. Your future self will thank you for the effort you put in today. Every small habit you build now is going to pay off in ways you might not even realize yet. Trust the process, trust yourself, and keep showing up, even when it feels hard. I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in and listening today. I know that your time is valuable, and I'm so grateful that you've chosen to spend some of it with me and with the English Talk community. I hope you're feeling inspired and motivated to continue practicing English every day, no matter how busy or challenging life may get. Before we close, remember that this is just the beginning. Keep practicing, keep learning, and keep growing. If you're enjoying the podcast, I'd love for you to join us again in the next episode, where we'll dive into more tips and stories to help you on your English learning journey. Until then, keep up the great work and remember, practice a little every day. Your future self will thank you.